morning, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Flock's Nest Podcast. I am Dallas, your resident Ravens fan. I bring the flock, and as always, reppin' number 9, Justin Tucker of the Baltimore Ravens.
I'm Brendan. I'm the resident 12, always repping 54 Bobby Wagner of the Seahawks, so I bring the nest.
If you caught part 1 of our video this week, this is part 2. We are actually getting into our teams. We're going to talk kind of the upcoming NFL schedule. We start football this week. We're super excited, super antsy for it. And we're going to kind of talk about how we outline the weeks to come and how we follow the NFL schedule and kind of what games we're going to choose to talk about every week because we are not just going to talk about our own.
hmm
But as always, we'll keep it in the heart. So, Brendan, do you want to kick us off with what's going on in Seattle?
Yeah. Um, so the Seahawks have done some interesting stuff lately. Tyus Bowser has signed to the practice squad, former Baltimore Raven. He is a edge rusher, so he really is there for in case Chinna and Wosu is hurt for most of the season. They can elevate him. He's familiar with McDonald again, being a former Raven. Is someone that had pretty good seasons, but is very injury prone. Has had a lot of bad injuries. Cannot really stay healthy. That's why he's no longer with the Ravens. But again, knows McDonald's scheme, so is kind of just a straight fit there. So someone to kind of look out for to be elevated from the practice squad if need be. Kind of along the same lines, they signed Tyreek Smith back to the practice squad. He was a guy that was with the team that Seattle drafted in the 2021 draft. The same draft they drafted Tyreek Woolen and Charles Cross were the two big ones out of that class. So he's just another edge rusher. Again, kind of the same situation as Bowser, bringing him in case and Wosu is not good to go. Indications are still pretty solid on him. But again, just someone that you can elevate, has familiarity with the Seahawks organization, not McDonald's scheme, but the Seahawks organization as a whole. So someone that you kind of just want on your practice squad to have, and someone that you can still develop. Two other people that had been signed to the practice squad was Fayon Hicks, cornerback. Not don't know a whole ton about him. Just a corner depth piece. I'm fine with it. And then Josh Jobe, another corner. Once again, just a depth piece with the uncertainty with Ernie Burns and only having truly what I would call four corners on the roster. Um, without if one of them gets hurt, you're gonna need the depth. So having some guys on the practice squad is not a bad idea. In order to do this, there were some cuts that had to be made. Raekwon O'Neal is no longer on the practice squad. Garrett Greenfield is no longer on the practice squad. And then a new thing that happened really recently, Jaron Hall, the quarterback formerly of the Minnesota Vikings, was a draft pick in a pretty recent draft. He was cut by the Vikings. Kind of a surprising move. He has signed the practice squad to be the third quarterback. The corresponding move, because Seahawks had to cut somebody, was Aesop Winston Jr. Was cut from the practice squad. That one's really weird to me. Like again, the Seahawks needed a third quarterback, but I really liked Aesop Winston Jr.'s preseason, and he's been with the Seahawks for a while, and I thought he's been putting together really solid camps. So to see him get cut was a little weird to me. But at the end of the day, like we needed a third quarterback. I think the Seahawks just liked another receiver a little more. Um, so I'm not too worried about that. For the rest of the practice squad, it was kind of people that we all thought were gonna make it. Like Michael Barrett, the linebacker we traded for from the Panthers, is on the practice squad. Marquise Blair, I talked about him a little bit. The safety is back on the practice squad. I'm really like that because I like the way he played. Artie Burns is on the practice squad. Um, I think this one's a little interesting. I thought he would just make the 53, but then he got hurt. I thought he'd end up on IR. Nothing like that's happened. So he's just hanging out on the practice squad. They have said that he might be elevated for week one to start the season. I'm not all sure about that. His injury might not be as bad as people thought. So I guess we will have to wait and see when we get injuries. Uh, McClendon Curtis is on there. George Halani is another one. The running back, I think, um, definitely someone I thought was going to make the roster. So I'm really glad we got him to the practice squad. I really liked his camp and his tape. So someone to kind of keep an eye on if we have to elevate somebody or he might get poached. Running back is a position though that injuries do happen at, so he might get a shot here, he might get a shot somewhere else. Just kind of have to keep an eye on that. Um, Other than that, all the names are pretty standard. No one really stands out on the practice squad. The full list is Michael Barrett, Keon Barnes, Marquise Blair, Artie Burns, McClendon Curtis, George Halani, Devere Leviston, Tyler Mabry, Patrick O'Connell, Ty Okada, Max Percher, which Max Percher is an international player pathway guy, so he's an international. So he does not count against your practice squad, so you get to have him and the 16, which is why there'll be 17 names. Cody White, Aesop Winston, or not Aesop, Cody White, and then the four names, Jaron Hall, Josh Jobe, uh, Fayon Hicks, Tyreek Smith, and Tyus Bowser is the whole practice squad. Some good names out there. Just guys to keep an eye on to see if they get elevated. Um, it's possible. A name you might notice that's missing is DJ James, the Seahawks 6th round draft pick this year. Um, he kind of struggled in camp. So for the Seahawks to kind of go away from him was not, I think, was surprising since he was a draft pick, but he was a 6th round draft pick. And I think we've seen with the Ravens, if you're a draft pick and you're just not performing to what people think you can, uh, they're not really tied down to you. Um, it's very much a you got to perform day in day out, even if you're a draft pick. So he has not signed with the practice squad. He has not signed with anyone else's practice squad, so he's currently just a free agent out there. I would not be surprised if at some point the Seahawks decide to bring him back, but right now, um, that's just something they haven't done. And then
Yep.
that's really it for the Seahawks practice squad. There was a very interesting thing that happened. I know Dallas watches a lot of sports talk shows. GMFB was one of them. I don't know if she's kind of followed it to Los Angeles since they moved and they've changed some things
I did
around.
see the thing. I actually watched that episode because
Okay,
there was nothing that day.
yeah. So, um, Peter Schrager, a very well-known analyst within the NFL sphere in sports, tends to do predictions a lot, and he's pretty accurate in a lot of his predictions. He tends to make really solid predictions off of really solid information. Um, he was predicting Coach of the Year, and he predicted Mike McDonald to win Coach of the Year, which I thought was really weird. And he was talking about it, and I was thinking about it, and it's not the worst prediction because Coach of the Year goes to the coach that has more wins than expected. So, like last year, Kevin Stefanski won Coach of the Year. That team was not really projected to win a ton of games, and he got that team to the playoffs using 3 to 4. I think he was 3 starting quarterbacks. Yeah, 3 starting quarterbacks. Deshaun Watson, uh, Thomas Robinson, and Flacco. So Stefanski won it last year. So yeah, it really is just a wins above projected. I think the Seahawks won't win enough games for McDonald to be coach of the year. The Seahawks are right now projected at around 7.5 wins, is like their Vegas betting total. So that's what people are kind of going off of for their projected win total is around 7 to 8. Um, I think the Seahawks ceiling is 11 wins, 12 wins, somewhere in there. I don't know if that is enough of a difference for McDonald to be named coach of the year. Now, there's also other ways for him to do it. The defense, if it's like a top defense in the league, I think that could help him out. If it's a if they're like a really solid team, they get 11 win, 10 win, let's say 10 wins because I think that's a realistic expectation for them. A 10-win season, um that's 3 more than your projected win total. You might be a let's say you're a top 10 defense, then yeah, there's a solid chance that he could end up being coach of the year. Um, I don't think he will be, but I think it is interesting to see someone that makes pretty solid predictions, is right a lot, come out there and throw it out there that he thinks McDonald will be coach of the year and thinks Seattle is kind of a dark horse, which isn't something that's being talked about a lot in the media. So it's just something I like to see and something I kind of wanted to bring up.
I found it interesting um, that he picked McDonald. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. It's for me one of those awards that sometimes I'm confused by,
Yeah,
like, or I disagree with. Like last year, I get, I get it. I think it should have been D'Amico. Um, like you took a 2 and
a terrible
14,
team.
15 team. You're a rookie head coach. You're a young head coach and a rookie quarterback that no one had a ton of faith in and won a playoff game. So sometimes it's just criteria I'm a little confused by, or I'm a little
Unsure of.
yeah. So I definitely think it's within the if like you said, I think if they win above their projected total, I don't know for the voters if that's going to be enough. I think he has to overcome something. Like Stefanski was 3 quarterbacks and we still made the playoff. Um,
Yeah,
so I think just winning the projected won't be enough. But I did find it an interesting take.
yeah,
Um, I've given opinions on like people that do these talk shows. I'm not going to give one now, but Schrager is very respected in that regard. He does. I think he's got the like he's predicted the last 9 Super Bowl winners correctly. He does it well. He has a lot of football knowledge. He actually last year, he predicted Puka before it even happened. They were talking NFL draft, and he was like, or fantasy, and he was like, I know nobody's really talking about the Rams, and half of you don't know this guy's name, but draft him. And then Puka was sensational, and he just has a lot of that knowledge. So I was definitely intrigued by the pick.
yeah.
I just don't know if over projected win total will be enough.
That's what I was like. You have to have something else. You got to be a wildly improved, like a top 10 defense. I think might get him there. To improve the defense from a bottom 10 to a top 10
To a top 10.
might be enough, along with upping your win total. But I think that even that, I'm not 100% sure is enough.
Yeah.
Um, but again, to see someone that is wildly respected within that community, like to have him predict the Seahawks head coach, it does mean something. Um,
Yeah, definitely.
and they are actually getting media coverage, which is kind of nice. So, um, you
I'm
know,
glad you're appreciating it Mine has not been awesome. It's not been awesome. It's been a real bummer.
But yeah, so
Real bummer.
um, with that said, um, looking ahead to Week 1 against the Broncos, the Seahawks play on Sunday at 1 o'clock Pacific time, so 4 o'clock Eastern, I believe, is the time they play.
Yep.
They play Denver, at in Seattle. So this game is at home, Week 1. Some kind of news: Seahawks will be wearing their throwback jerseys for Week 1, um, which would be really cool because I love these jerseys. Hence why I own one. Um, I'm really excited they're doing it Week 1. They're doing it Week 1 against Denver, and then Week 6 at home against the 49ers. So two really big games I feel like for the Seahawks. Week 1 being the first game of the season, and then Week 6 being you're playing one of your division rivals, best player, best team in the division. To bring it out, then I think is also really solid. But yeah, so this is just the jersey they'll be wearing. To look really ahead, some things I'll be watching for. I really want to see the defense. I think that is number one, and probably not the only thing, but the main thing. Um, just watching that defense. I want to see how McDonald's defense looks. I want to see all these things. They will be playing a rookie quarterback there in Denver with Bo Nix. Um, I want them to crush him. I like Bo Nix. I like the Broncos. I want Seattle to crush him, and I then want him to bounce back and succeed. But I really want Seattle to put him in the dirt and keep him there for most of the day. Um, so yeah, I think they have a pretty easy Week 1 against the Denver Broncos. Again, rookie quarterback. Uh, so yeah, I'm really looking for that defense to pop. It is Week 1. Week 1 can kind of be a liar of like it's still preseason in my opinion. It's like preseason Week 4 kind of for me, where your starters are only playing, where your starters are finally playing games. They're getting the reps. So for Week 1, I still want to see the defense kind of flying around, but I also will expect some mistakes and some issues that need to be corrected. Um, on the offensive side, I think this is more individually. I want to see how Geno Smith runs the offense. I want to see if he this new offense really works for him. I think it will, but it still remains to be seen. And Denver does have a decent defense, so I think this could be a pretty decent test to see if Geno Smith in this offense can really um, be what we think they can be. I'm also really looking at the DK Metcalf. I think I really want to see him getting the ball a lot, getting the ball early and often. Um, I think that is very important to Seahawks' success. We saw it last year. Every time DK touched the ball a lot, good things happened. Like he's just one of the best wide receivers in the league. It's clear. Um, like the game against the Eagles, he really didn't catch the ball a ton. We got to the fourth quarter, that game-winning drive. They targeted him on like every play, and he made the plays until the touchdown, and then that was JSN. But yeah, DK Metcalf, I feel like just needs to get the ball early and often. Obviously, I also want you to spread the ball around, but he is the number one. I want him to be kind of treated like a number one. Um, and I think Ryan Grubb, being that he had three really good receivers in college, I think I think he'll be able to spread the ball around and still have the number one being number one. So it's really like what I'm looking for in offense. The offensive line like, is also like a huge question mark I have. I've seen a lot of things saying the Seahawks offensive line is like the worst in the league. I don't think it is. Is it the best? No. Is it top 10? No. Is it middle of the pack? Yeah, probably. And to be honest, I think the Seahawks only need a middle of the pack offensive line. I think they just need someone that can give Geno enough time to throw the ball and create enough running rooms for Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. That's all I think we need. Obviously, if you had the best of the best, that's great. But at the end of the day, they just don't. So I think the offensive line's still a huge question mark. And again, I think the Denver defense is good enough to really test the offense. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that test. And then I just want to see how the defense does again. Like I said, um, I just want to see improvement on defense. I want to see what McDonald does as a new head coach. And I really just want to see the Seahawks play. That's where we're at. Or I just want the game to be here. Um so yeah, I think that's really it for looking ahead to week 1. Obviously, we'll be watching the game and we'll cover it the week after. Um but yeah, that being said, I think that's really it for the Seahawks looking ahead. Just let's go beat the Broncos. That's pretty much.
I'm really shocked that we're not going to this game. I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. I did not realize that it was versus Denver in Seattle because we were at that game 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and so I'm a little. I don't quite know how that happened. We're not going now, obviously,
No.
but I'm a little confused. I'm a little confused. I can assure you, had it been Seahawks Ravens,
We were going.
yeah. So I don't know what we didn't know or what we didn't.
I
I don't
honestly
know.
I know what happened. I thought the
Okay.
game was in Denver.
Oh, so then yeah, that wouldn't have been. I mean, technically it was an option, but not likely. So
Yeah.
there's that.
Yeah, I thought the
Um,
game was in Denver until very recently when I found out the game was in Seattle.
gotcha.
And at that
Yeah,
point,
you said that we were talking. God, what day? Saturday. We were talking Saturday. Um, and you were like, "Oh yeah, they play Denver and Seattle," and I was like, "Did we talk about this? Did we make a decision? I don't remember making a decision on that."
yeah, it was
Um,
because I did. I thought they were away for that game, but no, they're
gotcha.
they're at home.
Well, that's
Whoops.
they play the Ravens in Baltimore, so that's super annoying. Okay, is that it for
Yeah, that's it
Seahawk
for the
news?
C.
All right. Well, if that wraps us up in Seattle, we will move on to Baltimore. Couple things have happened since we all last saw you. Obviously, we talked the 53-man roster, but now the practice squad has been set. Had some press conferences, and we are ramping up for the first game versus the Chiefs this Thursday. Super excited, super nervous, super hungry. We're going to start with practice squad, guys. So, practice squad, I'm not going to go through the whole squad like Brendan did. I am just going to kind of point out the couple additions that I thought were interesting, as well as one absence. So, for interesting additions, we did keep Devin Leary on the practice squad as a quarterback, Malik Cunningham at wide receiver, and Kader Smalley at tight end, which I was excited for. I'd been talking to you guys, obviously, just the history there, the history in Baltimore, the familial connections. I was excited to see that. Excited to see that he'll be sticking around. I do think tight end is a position you have the potential to be brought up. There is some injuries there just because they play a lot. They play really hard. We did also add Tyler Huntley this past week from the Browns because he was released by them. I think it's a little sketchy, but whatever. He was added to just the practice squad. He is the Ravens' third quarterback. He's the emergency quarterback. I'm not surprised that they did that over Leary. Um, just he has the experience. He does know Monken's offense a little bit better. Yeah. So, but when you see number 2 on the field this year, that is still Nate Wiggins. Tyler Huntley will be wearing number 18. Wiggins was not. I don't even know that he was asked, but he did not give his number back to Huntley. Um, the one person missing from the practice squad that I was pretty surprised by was Demarion Williams, also known as Pepe. I thought he played really well. I thought he put some really good things on tape. So I was kind of surprised we didn't keep him. I was even more surprised that nobody else has picked him up. I know that that's a little more uncommon with everyone cutting down to 90 in one go. But I thought he put some really good things out there. I thought he at least made a case for special teams. So I was shocked at that. Hopefully he gets a chance. Never want to see a young man's dreams kind of come to an end. And then obviously after all of this kind of happened, EDC did give a press conference on the roster. So we're just going to kind of go through some of his highlights. One thing I found interesting, he said he was asked how often he talked to Lamar during training camp, and his response was every day. He and Lamar met every day after practice, talked personnel, team. Lamar did have input on those things, which I think is really good. One, Lamar's working with these guys every day. He's working with his O line, his wide receivers, and obviously the quarterback room. So for Lamar to kind of have that say, I think is really impactful. I also think it really goes to show kind of the culture they build in Baltimore and the relationship they all have with each other and that comfort with each other. For Lamar's input to be sought. So I appreciate it. I respect it. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it all plays out. EDC says that he's never seen Lamar quite so hyper focused and so hungry for something. And just his drive to improve. They really want a Super Bowl this year. Lamar really wants a Super Bowl. That's what he's been saying since he entered the league. So hopefully this year, hopefully. EDC did also note the youth at the offensive line and the potential struggles they'll have to start the season. Positions have to get younger. It happens. Has to get younger, has to get cheaper, and so he's aware that they might struggle, but they did decide as a team and as an organization to start that youth kind of now rather than wait another year. Um, it did after everything was said and done, the roster came in a little bit above cap, I think about 4 million, but they restructured Roquan Smith's contract, um, converting some of his guaranteed this year to a signing bonus, free up some of that cap space. I don't know that they're done making those changes, but I do think they're back within the limit now. If they restructure, it might just be to make some moves before the trade deadline or things like that. Um, EDC did also discuss Brandon Stevens, who is a really top defensive back in the league. He does a really great job, but he's getting ready to become expensive, and I don't know if cap wise they'll be able to keep him. So he'll be kind of a name I keep an eye on during before the trade deadline to see if they trade him or if they try to get a deal done. It'll just kind of depend on what number Stevens wants and what wiggle room they can come up with cap wise. Um, on the O line note as well, I had kind of said I thought Rosengarten was the favorite to start at right tackle. Um, they are still not officially releasing it, but Monken was at the podium the other day and he said that the only newcomer to the O line was Voorhees, which would mean Rosengarten is going to be the second behind Makari. Again, that's not confirmed. It's just something he said kind of offhandedly. So, but I'm taking it as it is. I do think that means Makari will start over Rosengarten. I'm not bothered by that. I'm a little intrigued. We'll see how that goes. Rosengarten got a lot of the snaps during preseason, so I'm hoping that Makari's ready to go come Thursday, and that he has kind of that connection with the line.
Yeah, and based on what you're saying, it seemed like Rosengarten definitely played a lot, and I thought you really liked him. And just
Yeah,
based on everything I heard, I thought he was going to end up starting there at right tackle.
I thought he played really well. He does have that blindside blocker mentality. I don't know if they just want him to sit a little bit behind Makari. Um, obviously I'm not at practice. I don't know what other people are saying, but I was pretty confident Rosengarten would get the start. But Yeah, just because he did. He got so many reps during training camp and preseason that yeah, I just that's what I expected.
Hmm,
But Makari has
interesting.
played before. He does do well at that spot. I don't think it's a bad choice. I'm just a little surprised by it.
Yeah.
As we head into week 1 against the Chiefs, obviously the number one conversation is not this game, but last year's game, the AFC Championship, as it is a rematch. Um, I'm excited. I'm nervous. I'm scared. I'm kind of want to throw up, which is weird. But that's just where I'm at. I I'm feeling a lot of things, and I'm not comfortable with this many emotions. Over anything, let alone a sport. But it's how I'm feeling. Everyone wants to talk about the game. I have thoughts. I've shared those thoughts on what I thought went wrong. As for my approach to this season, kind of view it the same way Lamar does, to be honest. He was at the podium the other day and he said that every game for him is a revenge game, even if he beat the team the last time they played. He's just hungry. Has to take every game as it comes, each week as it comes, every rep, every snap. Um, I think that I will be unhappy no matter how it goes. I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. If they win, I'm gonna be like, why? Why couldn't we do this last year? Why couldn't we? What the hell? Um, if they lose, I will be upset simply because I do not want them to lose to the Chiefs. I do not want to hear about it for the rest of the season. Well, it doesn't matter how many games they win; they can't beat the Chiefs. And that will be the narrative, and I understand that, and I'm prepared for that. And I don't want to hear it. I don't think it's accurate. I think Week 1 is very much. I could see them losing this game. Like if I think about it objectively, none of their starters have played. He has a new O line. He has new weapons. It's new, and it's the start of the season. It's a Thursday night game. I could see the loss as long as I see the identity we're attempting to build and we stay consistent with it. I don't care if it's the identity of the previous Ravens. I just want to see an identity and them have success with it. Please not run the ball only 6 times. If you do that, I'm confused why we went and got Derrick Henry. Like, I don't know why we're paying him $18 million. Like, if you were gonna do that, you go get somebody cheaper. We could have kept Gus. I'm gonna be honest with you. Um,
Yeah, pretty much.
so I expect them to still be a run heavy team. I want to see it. I want to see how it plays out. Obviously, I'm excited to see this defense back at it. I'm excited to see Nate Wiggins out there in a full game. Excited to get Roquan back. Um, he wasn't hurt. We just haven't seen him. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm a little nervous, but I don't think a lot of people in the media have been saying, hey, if they lose this game, that's pretty much it. That's the Ravens season's gonna end like it always does. Um, I am not hanging my hat on this game. I do not think the season will be made or broken by this. I do think this game will have potential playoff implications in terms of tiebreakers, and I do think this game goes a long way in terms of building momentum. I think if they can beat them now, it creates this we just got to get back there and do it again mentality versus a hurdle they have to get over. So but I also don't think the Ravens are one that they really let the mental kind of break them down. So I'm
Hmm.
excited. Injury news going into week 1. The only person sitting out of practice right now is Adisa Isaac with a hamstring. Everybody else is back. We've got pretty much a full strength. Linderbaum is back. He was practicing last week in a red shirt. He is no longer redshirted. He is a full participant in practice right now, so that's awesome. Ali, or I'm sorry, Isaac. No, yeah, Ali, Rasheen Ali, did return to practice after a brief neck injury. Not being more specific than that, but he is a full participant in practice. So yeah, it's just Adisa Isaac. I'm a little surprised. I'm not entirely sure what they're gonna do with him. We'll see how long this injury hangs around. I think there's potential they move on and free up a roster spot. Um, it's the same reason they waived Millette. He is designated to return at some point, but they want the roster spots for guys that can play right now.
Hmm.
So now that we've kind of talked Ravens and Chiefs, we've talked Seahawks and Denver. We had decided that we both were going to pick a game
Yeah.
outside of our own. I was pretty insistent that it could not be, you couldn't pick a Ravens game, I couldn't pick a Seahawks game, that we were going to focus on. All whether it's because of storyline, playoff implications, a player we really want to watch, whatever it might be. We were each going to pick one to focus on, and then
Yeah.
we would talk about it the following week on the podcast when we talk our game. So, Brendan, do you want to tell our viewers which game you picked, why you pick it, and when they play?
Yeah. So, like she said, my game of the week was originally going to be the Chiefs and the Ravens, and then um, since we were going to cover it, she made a really good point about that. So instead, I'm going with Jets and 49ers on Monday Night Football. Um, I just think this game has so many unanswered questions. I think like both teams, I think have so many question marks, so many things that this offseason kind of was weird for them. Um, so obviously, like the Jets, you have Aaron Rodgers coming back from an Achilles tear. How does a older, significantly older quarterback come back from that kind of injury? Um, is he still Aaron Rodgers? Is he is he bad? Like, how does he come back from this? Uh, and like the Jets, they're putting a lot of faith in Aaron Rodgers. Um, they have questions. I have questions about their defense. I don't think their defense is as good as people think it is. Uh, they have questions with Hassan Reddick. Are they going to trade him? What's going on there? Um, so I do. I think the Jets just have a lot of questions of
Any
what kind of,
questions at O line?
yeah, the O line. So the Jets just are a team that people seem to think could be a playoff team. I'm not entirely convinced of that. I think there are questions to be answered. And I think there's a lot of them. I think that whole team I think is just one big question mark. And then on the 49ers side, obviously they're a division rival of the Seahawks. So I'm kind of watching it for that reason to see, they've won the division the past couple of years. They've been the top team in the division. I want to see where they're at this year. Do the Seahawks really have a chance at coming back and winning a division, or are the Seahawks really just looking to be like a wild card spot if they do make the playoffs? So that is something for me on the 49ers. And plus, they had Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk both end their holdout. Ayuk got his new contract. Williams is getting a new contract and feels confident enough to end his holdout. So for him, is it? So for them, are they ready week one? Are they going to be ready soon? Like, what does this offense look like without them? What's going to happen? That defense still has some things. If you watched the part one of this, I talked about how there's some question marks at coaching too. Um, you know, can Shanahan coach a team that isn't completely stacked? I guess we might be able to see that week one. We'll see. Um, you know, is there stuff elsewhere? Like, how has the noise around this team affected them? You go to a Super Bowl and you lose. That's mentally draining. They had a shorter offseason. You had all this stuff with Ayuk and Williams. It's terrible, but their rookie wide receiver was shot recently, and that it's bigger than football. I'm not saying, but that does take a toll on a team, and I think it'll be interesting to see how the 49ers come out on Monday and kind of respond to all the things that happened this offseason. So for me, I think that's like the major reasons I want to focus on this game here on Monday night.
Um, I said, I was like, had I not already picked a game, I think that's definitely top of the list. Um, they are by far the two noisiest teams this offseason.
Yeah.
With all the contract drama and the Rogers controversies and Rogers versus Sala and Hackett and I agree with you. I think the defense is a little overrated. I think people expect this O line to be better than I think it's going to be. Um, and then 49ers, like you said, like all the noise around Ayuk and Trent, and our hearts are with Pearsall, but it is a factor. It is something that when big losses hit teams, it's all so much. And when you think about the Niners, who have been in the playoffs or the conference championships or the Super Bowl like every year, that's a long season. And
Mhm,
guys
yeah,
start to get worn out. And guys stayed really healthy last year. And you have Ayuk who didn't play or didn't do anything during training camp. Wide receiver, that's an injury prone position. Trent Williams didn't do anything during training camp. Left tackle, that's an injury prone position. McCaffrey is dealing with a calf problem. Like, who knows if he's going to be ready week one? There's just so many questions, like you
yeah,
said, so surrounding both teams that I just want to know what they're going to look like, and how this is all going to play out. Obviously, week one is not week 17. It's not the defining, but it is going to tell us a lot. And then I did forget, quick thing. Because you mentioned Pearsall. So unfortunately, my brain kind of. The Ravens did release a decal that they will be wearing on their helmets for Coach D and Jacoby Jones this season, to kind of honor the both of them. Moving on. My game of the week, I picked something a little less, I think, flashy. Um, is Bears Titans Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. I picked this not because I don't have like a ton of faith in either one of these teams. I'm not expecting this to have playoff implications. I'm not expecting this game to matter the slightest in the long run. But I want to see these teams as they exist right now and these quarterbacks. Caleb Williams, obviously the number one pick in the draft. He didn't go to a bad situation overall roster wise, but it's the Bears. So who are you going to be? Who is this team going to be? Um, can you sit in the pocket? Can you make the on script plays? Can you trust in your line? Do you know when to step up, when to drop back, when to scramble? Do you protect the ball or do you throw it into coverage? Just kind of just kind of the fundamentals of being an NFL quarterback. I'm excited to see, obviously we watched them in preseason and the stats were not good, but it's preseason. You're meant to make those mistakes so you can put them on tape, so you can learn from them, so you can
yeah,
do these things. When an actual game matters, I want to see kind of who you are as a quarterback and who this team is. As for the Titans, there's been so much change. No Vrabel, no Tannehill, no Henry, um, and Will Levis coming in, being this energetic guy, strong arm, a great wide receiver room, an offensive head coach. Who are you going to be? He's trying to prove he's the guy. Williams was a number one draft pick. He's guaranteed to start for probably at least 3 years. Levis is kind of fighting for his spot to prove he is the guy. He should stay the starting quarterback, and I want to see kind of how he takes on this challenge and how this team looks with all of these changes. They've been a very quiet team, but they've made some really good moves. They've made some really big moves, and I'm excited to see it. I want to know who they're going to be.
yeah. I think that's another good game. Again, this one more for like the quarterbacks. Like they're both
Yeah.
young, they're both talented, but like can they make it in the league? And I think this
Yeah.
game might be a good test for some of them, and especially for Caleb Williams. This is your first NFL game. This is
Mhm.
the time to really go out there and try to prove yourself. Now, obviously, he'll have a full season to do that, but the first game is definitely like your first impression. This is your first.
Yeah, it hits different. I feel like week one, everyone kind of remembers. And then as the weeks stack up, you start looking more towards the future. It's
Yeah.
hard to stay in the moment in the NFL because it's not like 80 games, it's every game matters. Every game has these implications. So it's easy to look at week 1 and then weeks like 12 through 17 or 12 through 18.
Yeah. So um that game will definitely be, I feel like, pretty interesting. Um I I'm just looking forward to football, man. I'm just
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah.
I just need
I was
it.
really I was really excited because we did not plan this. We did not talk about this. We all just picked a game. But all of the games that we kind of want to focus on this week happen at different times or
Yeah.
even different days. So it's like
We
at
can really,
all points we get to just be invested in football.
yeah.
And then
It's
obviously we keep red zone actively in our lives.
yeah.
It'll be kind of interesting to see what team games are like national and what games we have access to outside of that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just ready.
Yeah.
I nothing else is sufficient.
And cuz we were going to college football's on, and I
Yeah,
personally like college football, and even that's not enough for me. Uh you're trying to get into college
I'm trying to
football.
get into it. I'm trying to get into it. This would be the it's I don't want to say it's the first year. I have watched college football. I have never stayed invested or with a team throughout an entire season. I've either watched specific games or I've watched playoffs. So yeah, I'm trying to get into it. But you're the person to ask, as someone trying to get into college football, what should I look out for? Like how should I pick a team? Are there top quarterbacks coming out that would maybe be entering the draft next year? Are there players I should be paying attention to? How do I approach the magnitude of college football to get into it? What do you recommend?
I think there's a couple things. So I think the easy answer, and what a lot of people would be like a good, and I think is like the bandwagony answer in a way,
Okay.
is Colorado. You have Deion Sanders as the head coach,
Prime
former
time. I know
NFL.
prime time.
Yeah. His son is the quarterback. I think he's easily one of the top 5 quarterbacks that could be coming out into the draft next year. And then I think they have the best player in college football. Travis Hunter is a two
I've
way.
heard that name.
Travis Hunter is a two-way star. Plays corner and wide receiver, and he plays them both at an elite level. Their game
A lot of
against,
football.
yeah, he plays 100 snaps a game, which is unreal. And I'll kind of talk about it. So I actually watched the game, Colorado versus North Dakota State. North Dakota State is not a powerhouse by any means, but they play hard. Colorado, they definitely gave Colorado a run. Travis Hunter had 3 touchdowns in that game, 3 receiving touchdowns as a receiver. On the other side of the football, as a corner, he did not let a single catch in coverage.
Damn.
He was shut down on the other side and was catching touchdowns left and right on the offense. So as a player, he's elite on both sides of the football. I don't really know which one he's better at. Um, I think if he was drafted, it would be completely up to the team he was drafted by to decide what position he focused more on. I think he could do both at an NFL level, but I guess we could. I guess we would see what teams want to do with him. But overall, like you watch him play these 100 snaps. I think he played like 112 on Thursday, and he comes off to the sideline, and they do like their interview, and you could just tell he wasn't like huffing and puffing. He didn't have like this like he didn't look
He didn't look
physically
tired.
tired. He just kind of was like in the interview, normal, not really sweating, just kind of
That's crazy.
okay. And it was insane considering he played 112 snaps, which is roughly double what any
Yeah. I think
player
if I had to do
plays.
anything 112 times, I think I would die. I'm being perfectly honest with you. I think I would just have to lay down and die.
And he's playing the position that runs the most.
Yeah, like it's not like
You're not like
I'm not
a
trying to
quarterback.
discredit any position, but like there are positions like maybe a like a lineman where you're just like just stand up and block, but like you are running.
Yeah,
God knows
up
how
and down the
far
field,
every play, and then you got to get back to the line. And it's just my God, no.
and he's
That
doing
sounds like
that.
110 suicides. That's what that sounds like.
Yeah,
Um,
pretty much, because he's doing it
or
on both.
112.
It's
That's
yeah, he's
crazy.
ridiculous. I think he's easily one of the best players in college football. Um, so yeah, Colorado's a very bandwagony pick, but at the same time, they're kind of a bandwagony pick because they're a fun team to watch because they have some of the best players and they have one of the best players in college football.
Okay.
They have a top five quarterback. So like to follow a team, I think Colorado would be a pretty good
Is a
one.
good, maybe a good starting point.
I think there's some other teams like Texas has Quinn Ewers, who I think is another top quarterback, another really good team. They didn't go to the national championship last year, but they were one win away. They lost to Washington, who was a really good team. They had Michael Penix at quarterback,
Mm.
and they had the three receivers that were all drafted.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah.
just a really good team there in Washington. So for Texas to lose that game, like yeah, they had a lot of people get drafted out, but they're still a good team. I think they'll still make a push, and they still have a top quarterback in Quinn Ewers. So like to follow them, that's another solid one. Um, Georgia is the best team in college football. Their defense is unreal. It's been that way for the past like 4 years.
I did watch that game. I watched Georgia Clemson
Yeah,
Saturday.
yeah. So yeah, Georgia's defense is just still unreal. Carson Beck is, I would say, a top five quarterback prospect. We've talked about the term game manager isn't a knock, but I think he is just a game managing quarterback. He makes the right
Sure.
reads. He does kind of the right things. He's not flashy in any way.
But he makes the right
Yeah.
decisions, moves the ball,
Whereas like a
that kind of quarterback.
Quinn Ewers is almost more like a huck the ball down the field, interception be not type, almost like Josh Allen.
Gotcha.
He's a little bit more in control than Josh Allen is, but that's kind of the similarity I'd pull. Um, Another quarterback, Cam Ward out of Miami had a really good weekend.
Okay.
He's kind of an interesting prospect. He's bounced around a bit. Um, Miami's also just a team that I think no one they could be a dark horse for like the playoffs and stuff. Uh,
Okay.
Solid quarterback, kind of just an under the radar team, something that kind of like an underdog, but without being like a true underdog. So just a really interesting one there. Um, and then there's a couple other quarterbacks that are like in that like top five ish range that
Maybe.
you can interchange. I would say like Jalen Milrow out of Alabama's in there. Again, Alabama's a really good
Alabama's
team.
always a good team. They're
But
always.
without Nick Saban, there's some questions
Oh,
there.
that's yep. Nope, I did, and I knew that too.
Yeah, without Nick Saban, there's some questions there. They did get Washington's head coach, who did just take Washington to the national championship. Lost to Michigan, but they did play well. So that could be kind of fun as a team to just kind of watch because of the changes and the interesting thing there. Um, and then I'm forgetting a name. Um, man, I'm forgetting a name. Jalen Milrow is, I think, my fifth, but I am
Okay.
definitely forgetting a name, and I feel bad because he's
I
probably right there. Drew Ayler
okay.
out of Penn State.
Oh, okay.
He had a good
Okay.
weekend. I think he will be pretty solid. Him and Milrow are my like 5, 6, and I think they're pretty interchangeable there.
Okay.
I personally have Milrow as the 5. I think I just like his rushing upside a little more, but
Gotcha.
I think Ayler might be the better true quarterback. If that makes sense. So I don't know really which one would be the better prospect coming out of college, but I think those are kind of the teams and the quarterbacks that you might want to like pay attention
And
to.
then I've heard something about like a baby Mahomes. Like he looks like Mahomes, or
Uh,
he
so
plays like him.
I think it's more he does look like him. Riola. I don't know what his first name is, but it's Riola, and he
Okay.
plays for Nebraska.
Gotcha. I don't necessarily need to watch Baby Holmes. I've just heard of it.
His play style is kind of like Mahomes, but he does really look like him.
Gotcha.
And he is a true freshman coming into the league or coming into college football. So this will be his first year. So I mean, he could be an interesting one to watch if you want to like watch his whole college career play out
His whole career.
because this will be
I
his first
think
season
to get into it, I'm gonna start with people
that
to
are
be
more
kind of
established.
watching coming into the NFL, like to be,
Mm,
and then obviously you can't just watch one team at a time, or at least I don't know how you do that. Um, so I'm hoping watching those people, I'll be introduced to other things that I'll
yeah,
become invested in, or
and it would probably be better if they also had a red zone for college football. That way, you could just have a lot of teams, a lot of. I need it. This whole they have so many teams playing at one time. I can't watch all the games. I just need a red zone for college football.
so I'm gonna give a small insight, a very short one, but a small insight into Brandon and I's personal lives to explain my laughter. So I own a donut shop. I've mentioned that. Um, Brendan has worked for me on and off for years since he was like 15. Obviously, school's a priority, college is a priority, but he's also addicted to money. So when he has his time, he comes and works for me. So Saturday, we were both at work and we were both kind of watching college football. I heard the statement, I want a red zone for college football no less than 20 times in like a 6-hour period.
And she's
And actually,
not
it was
wrong.
less because I think he only said it while college football was on. So it was
Yeah,
like 3 hours.
yeah. I need it, man.
So
I need it in my life.
I'm with you. I get it, but I'm like, I know you want red zone for college football.
But yeah, so I think that would also help if like you could just put on that and it would just cycle through a
I
bunch of
think I would absolutely watch it when if that was I would get pushback at home. I would have some things to contend with there. Um, but like if that was a thing, I would absolutely watch college football every week, all the time. It wouldn't even be a question. The hard part of the thing I'm struggling with is knowing what teams to pick. And then I felt this way because I said I watched Georgia Clemson because it's not the NFL. It does move slower.
yeah.
Not in terms of like game time, but like just everything is slower. And so I'm like having a hard time staying focused on it the way I think I would like to. I'm hoping I'll get better. I'm hoping I'll get a little more into it. Obviously, I kind of think college is maybe a little like the NFL in that regard. Like it's the first game of the season.
Yeah.
You're trying different things out. But yeah, I am hoping to get a little better into it. I can assure you that if there was a red zone, I would do that. I
Yeah.
would I would have that battle because I would have to battle at home. I'd have to. There's no way I'm going to get away with red zone Saturday and Sunday and every other day of football and WNBA and all these other things. I already get yelled at enough.
Yeah. So I guess you mentioned the WNBA. You wanna talk a little bit about that?
Yeah,
Stuff
yeah,
going
let's
on?
do that. Some things getting spicy, getting spicy. Um, 8 teams make the playoffs. 5 have secured their positions. The team at number 6 is the Indiana Fever, featuring Caitlin Clark. This is the first time they have been above 500 since 2019. She is playing phenomenally since they came back from their All Star break and the Olympics. Set a couple records. She became the first WNBA player to have back to back games with 25 points and 10 assists. Obviously, a big deal. She set the record for rookie 3 pointers. She also set Indiana Fever's rookie record for points at 595, I believe. She's just playing at an insane level. Interesting kind of factoid about her 3 pointers.
It's like
So the 3 point line is 22 feet, 1.75 inches
at its furthest, and then
at its
in like the
furthest.
corners, it's like 20 something.
And then the NBA 3 point line at its furthest is 23 feet, 9 inches.
Yeah,
Caitlin Clark average 3 point distance is 28 feet, 1.1 inches. That is 2 feet further than any other player in the WNBA. In
god
the
damn,
NBA, Steph Curry's average is like 27 feet, just to kind of give
god
context.
damn.
So not only is she hitting a vast amount of threes, she's hitting them at extreme distance.
Yeah,
Why?
that's insane.
Not sure.
That's fucking
But she is doing it. And she's like getting better. Like the further away she gets, she's getting better at it. Um it's
like
just kind of insane. I think she is hands down solidified rookie of the year. I know everyone wants to scream Caitlyn versus Angel. I really couldn't give a crap about the rivalry. I'm not entirely sure it's real. They don't really seem to give a crap. They're just like, until we're on the court together, she doesn't matter. They're just doing their own thing. My issue kind of is Reese's claim to fame. I don't, the thing that's setting her apart is she has become the WNBA single season rebounding leader. I think that needs some context.
yeah, I've seen
A
some
lot of
things.
her rebounds come off of her own missed shots. She will get credit for like 4 rebounds that she attempts a shot. It's why her shooting average is kind of in the trash. I'm not saying it's not good. Like she doesn't give up on the play. You're fighting through defenses. I'm not saying it's not hard to do, but also maybe just make the shot. That's a
Yeah,
thought.
I've seen
Um,
I've seen some where she's missed like four in a row and is getting credit
yeah,
for like four
yeah. You
rebounds,
get
and I'm
credit
like,
for every time you take the ball back. Like I
bro,
think at
make
some
the fucking
point,
layup.
yeah, just make the shot. Um, or pass it. I don't know. Do something. But um, so yeah, but Caitlin's just playing at a really elite level. She is back to being kind of targeted in terms of fouls. I think it's 28% of the technical fouls that have occurred this season have occurred towards Caitlin Clark. Um, I do not think, like, I think in the beginning it was like a welcome to the WNBA. We're going to show the rookie what's up. Now I think it's because of how well she's playing. They're trying to stop her. They're trying to get Indiana off its streak. They've won 5 of their last 6 games, 7 of their last 10. Um, they're clearly fighting for a playoff spot right now, and unless something crazy happens, they are set to have one. But it's just been really good to watch. It's going to be hard in obviously the coming weeks. Choices are going to have to be made between WNBA and football, and it's not really a choice,
Yeah,
NFL wins. I recognize that. I am gonna get the WNBA pass because they have that for the WNBA app, just like they do the NBA app, and at least hold on to it through the rest of this season, and then potentially get it for next season as well, just so I can stay up to date, watch these games when I have a chance, and as playoffs come, I want to know how it's all shaken down. I want to see it. I'm not sitting here saying I think Indiana's gonna like win the championship. I definitely think the Liberty are still poised the best to do that. But I do want to see it, and I am excited for how this season's going, and and just all the talent. It's been really great.
yeah. I haven't really been able to pay a ton of attention to it, but yeah, I kind of want to. I won't say that I'm going to be like hyper focused on it because obviously
Yeah.
football season's coming around, but I do want to stay at least somewhat informed on what's going on.
Oh yeah.
Um, just because it is like a interesting sport, and
I'll
there are
definitely
the
keep you informed.
yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy. I don't know. You can say what you want about fair or, but the attention she's brought to it, I think it'll be interesting to see how the ratings do. I had said, I think last week or the week before, of could she keep the ratings? She very much has. It'll be interesting to see what they do come football season. And as we get closer to November, um, and just kind of how everything continues to shake out, I do think when TV stations and networks have to make choices in the coming years about sports, I do think the WNBA is going to be ripe for the picking. Honestly, I think they're going to have a really good shot at getting some of those deals.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's great to see. Um, is that it? Is that what we got?
I kind of think that's it. We talked all the fun stuff. We're getting ready for football. Obviously, next week we're going to talk
Yeah.
about our different game recaps, what we saw, what we liked, what we didn't like, and we have the four we're going to focus on. But obviously, I think we'll talk a little just all football if something interesting
Yeah.
happened.
Just a general thing.
Yeah, it's interesting because we had some plans or we had some ideas for what we might do in different
Yeah.
segments and things like that. And it's interesting, like how the time is shaken out, and it'll be interesting with football genuinely getting ready to kick off, how it'll all ebb and flow. I know for our viewers, you're like, oh, it's just each episode, but this really has been a learning curve for us. And every week, I think we continue to learn, we continue to deal with problems.
Yeah.
Um, so we're just taking it one week at a time, and we are excited for football. I know the video schedule has been a little inconsistent. We are trying to get it there. Our goal is to have a video out every Wednesday.
Yeah.
Before we're trying to be on the NFL schedule before the season or the week kicks off on Thursday is
Yeah.
our goal.
Um, but yeah, that being said, like, subscribe, comment. I've been Brendan,
And I've been Dallas.
and this has been Flox's podcast. Thank you all.